JB here. November 12th, 2024, 325 on this fine Tuesday afternoon. Talk really quick about the markets, some of the names I'm looking at, go from there. Take a look at the S&P. Markets are slightly in the red, finally, right? They've been battling, almost look like they were going to reverse course, but all the way down to 594 in a SPY at about 1 o'clock, bounced back up to 598 and been chopping ever since. Uh, it Yesterday was a very tight range, so we were trading between 597 and 600 on a SPY, so like a half percent range. Today we have a 1% range, right? 594, a little more than that to six, well, 599, yeah, close to that. So uh all some things to note. First, the VIX hitting lows at 3 o'clock here. Actually, they're bouncing a little bit now, but the VIX was down to 1469 just a little while ago on the bounce, and that's despite the market weakness. Um, so a good thing here. But then on the flip side, you have the yields starting to go back up, and we have the U.S. dollar strength continues. So definitely watching the U.S. dollar. The thing I would, sound like a broken record. I always say I'm a broken record when I'm talking about the small caps, but I wish the small caps were outperforming today. Unfortunately, that is not the case. Almost down 2%. So in regards to the SPY, I put 595 as support on the watch list the last 2 days. Came down to 594 and bounced. So probably right around that area. We'll be watching over this week. And then that 600 handle looks like, I think once we break that, it's going to be another blue sky breakout. So we'll have to see. Tomorrow we get data. So we have CPI data. I really don't think it's going to move markets too much unless it's a major surprise. It seems like it's almost like inflation's, I wouldn't say it's on the back burner right now. I think it's kind of, it's going to take a while, a couple months of data releases that come in above expectations to get that back as part of the discussion. Uh, so I don't think that's going to move markets too much. There's some Fed speak this week, and then we continue to have earnings, and then people are already starting to hype NVIDIA for next week, right? Uh, I think there's an article on Market Watch on the front page. NVIDIA is going to break its streak of beats and raises, and yeah, it's going to be hyped up because now that all the other mega cap names have reported, NVIDIA is going to steal the show, and it's almost like it has its own week to itself. And there's not much in the way of catalyst either, so should be interesting. But anyway, that's that for the SPY, and then the small caps. I think we came down to 232 was the gap on election day. Not that I wanted to come down to 232. We're at 237 here. Maybe we chop around here into the close and work on getting back over that 240 handle. But just that's kind of disappointing here today, those small caps. All right, so now individual names. And if you look at that chart on Lemonade, I posted in the chat room, they talk about taking escalators up and stairs up and elevator to the downside. That's how the market sometimes works. If you look at Lemonade, it squeezes, has a red day, and the candles look very similar inside days. Then squeezes it again, then another red candle like an inside day, and then squeezes again, and it's been 2 to 3 session rallies. So if history is an indicator here, and this setup continues, you have to think tomorrow's gonna be another solid green day for Lemonade. I don't want to be in a spot. I have the December strikes, and the premiums are holding up well. The calls were like 350 or so after the open. I had locked some in yesterday. I locked all my November strikes in. I didn't want to be in a spot where we have this setup where the analyst comes in and downgrades the stock, right? So we had that downgrade last Thursday, and the stock gave back some of the gains from its squeeze. Kind of disappointing. It's like the analyst already had a neutral rating on the stock. The stock has rallied $15 off its price target already, and then it comes out, raises its price target, and lowers its rating to underperform, right? You already got it wrong. And now you're going to double down. And you can see it's already up, $4 or $5 from where that analyst downgraded the stock last week. So I just don't want to be in a spot where I lose the premium on the call. So I lock some more in. Also, their analyst day or their investor day, I think is the this week. Let's see what day it's going to be. I have it up 19th, right? So a week from today. It could be another catalyst. So as long as it holds 31 or so, I'll continue to hold those strikes. But great Lemonade coming back to life this week. Some nice multi-baggers on those calls. Square, I always call it Square. I'm probably just going to continue to call it Square instead of trying to change and correct myself by calling it Block. But another strong day as well. You take a look at the morning. It was some weakness in the pre-market. I think it was down to 81 and change. And then it just started to find a bid and was rallying 85, then 86. And now it's up here back at highs. Just hit highs about 230 despite the market weakness. Some of that has to do with Bitcoin back at 89,000. But just Again, if I set it on the watch list, if you told me Square was at 85 after I got my calls, I would have been happy camper. I got the calls at 76. So to see it all the way up here, similar to Lemonade, I don't want to be a spot where some analyst or some kind of catalyst comes out and then just destroys the stock. So uh, I'm content. Lock the last of my Square calls in for over 1100%. Great start to the week. Not going to cry over it, and I'll continue to look for opportunities on that one. But can it break it to the 90s? Sure. I mean, the probability right now, I think, is more likely back to 80 or so. And I've traded Square earlier this year for some nice profits, and then my mistake was I actually rolled out further out for more highs, and then that never came to fruition, and it kind of mitigated some of the profits. So I don't want to be in that same spot. So I'll be patient before looking to re-enter on Square. That's that. I'm watching dust, and if you've listened to me do my rants over the years in regards to gold, I always look at the miners as another way to play, not only as a hedge, but as a way to play weakness in gold, right? So that's the first thing. It's like the triple whammy when you play miners. At least if you're bearish miners, right? You have gold, so if gold sells off, miners typically go down. If the market sells off, uh, miners typically go down, and then you add those together, and then implied volatility goes up as the market goes down. It's like a triple whammy playing calls on a bear ETF, right? So uh, that's why I always look at Dust, and J Dust is the junior miners, so more speculative. But this had a reverse split recently, so because of that, it opens the possibility for some possible crazy plays. The thing is the calls are not that liquid, and you can see some of the strikes because of the reverse split. Some of them they still have like $5 contracts, but I think those are cut in half by 100 because of the split. So the value is a little different. You look at it's like a $5 contract, but it's really not $5. It's probably like 5 cents or whatever. So when I look at Dust, I don't know if it was 2013, 2014, it did a reverse split. And then I was in Dust calls, and Dust went from like $60 to 150 in like 3 days. I'll have to go back. There's crazy stories that you can have one crazy story in 2014 and then try and do it and duplicate that for the next 11 years. It will never happen. But I think to set up it for at least a little move here or continuation to the downside in gold and then upside. So don't be surprised if I add some dust. I was looking maybe some December strikes, but I'm going to be patient there for two reasons. One is the liquidity. So it's tough to get a decent risk reward. And the two, since the end of October, it's up from $45. So it's up already 40% already. And then that with the small caps. So small caps are selling off today. I think they're going to bounce. So it's kind of, I'm trying to get myself convicted and build that bull case on miners, at least bull case for the ETF, bear case on the miners. All right, so that's gold. And I don't know. I have my chart of gold, which I talked about this morning. It's like I've had these annotations on for so long, but still that trend line's broken. I think it heads into 2,500 handle. All right, so that's gold. So SE, so great earnings. So SE reported a nice beat on revenue. A slight miss is like a 1 cent miss on EPS. Their guidance is great. They talked about their Shopee segment is ramping up. It's going to be profitable. Um, I don't know, it's 20% growth in that, or it's 25%, something like that. It's a $50 billion company. They have $10 billion in cash. It's a great story. So the stock spikes in the pre-market. I'm kicking myself for not adding the 110 strikes. So then once it was breaking 117, I tried to have a little patience, waited for it to fall back to like 114. Well, I think it was, maybe I got the calls around when it was 115, 116. I probably should have had a little more patience here, but I guess the silver lining, or the thing that at least makes me feel a little better is, well, not better, but the 110 calls that I could have entered yesterday are in the red right now. So either way I would have played, I probably would have been holding those anyway, because I think it heads higher. So that's kind of how I rationalize it, or at least don't feel as bad about seeing it pull back. And not only that, now there's another opportunity to add some more strikes. So I'll be patient there. But I think it heads over 130 in the coming weeks. It's still up 10% today. So it's not like it's not a huge move. It's just consolidating it. So, and some of it might be the market weakness. I think it heads into the 130s in the coming weeks and months. I said 110 in the summer. So we crossed that, but now it's giving it back. Hopefully it can find some footing here into the close hopefully over 110, but maybe 108, 109 would be good, and then set it up for a nice move into the end of the week. Not much commentary to add on Travelzoo. Still looking to exit some of my calls, but it's Tuesday, and it's sitting here despite the small caps index, IWM's down nearly 2% now. Travelzoo is just sitting there like a rock, which leads me to believe that if we do get some kind of rally tomorrow with the, CPI data, not that I think it's going to move markets much, I think there'll be an opportunity there to lock my calls in for higher. I mean, I got them cheap, so there's, at points yesterday we're up nearly 800% for the rest, and then I'll use some of those profits to add some March, December's, but I'm going to wait till I lock those in. That's SE. I'm trying to think of some of the other names here. Take a look at Altimmune. I was looking at Altimmune. So if you know there's a lot of names in the GLP-1 space: ALT, GPCR, VKTX, and then the big names: LLO, NVO, and then Corbis, which is the name I got those speculative calls on last week. Last week or the week before for that spike after earnings. Yeah, it was the week before. It's tough. So I was looking at Altimmune and they reported earnings this morning with an update, and it's like a name that's been uh, touted by a short. I forget who it was. I don't know if it was one of those short funds. The people come out with their short pieces. I don't even know if it was Muddy Waters. It was one of those folks, and they just bashed the their drug, right? And then the management team and all that fun stuff. So huge short interest. So it's up 30% here today. And I was almost tempted to add some higher strikes. And I've traded Altimmune before earlier this year, but I'll probably sit on my hands. Similar to VKTX. Uh, I'll wait till Friday before even evaluating to add more strikes, because for now, for me to trade, I'm going to wait for a buyout. So go back to the strategy I had back in the summer where late spring, where I just add monthly strikes to play for M&A, which is going to either happen to VKTX or one other name in that space. Turn GPC. Probably GPCR is probably the higher odd probability on that one. Trying to think of some of the other names looking at here today. I think that's it. WW's up $1.07. I mean, gonna need a big move into January. I still have, I added those January 26th. I'll continue holding them. It's one of those names I'm probably not going to talk about too much unless there's some kind of catalyst. I got someone message on X asking if HIMS should acquire them. The issue with Weight Watchers that, you look at just at a first glance, you're like, wow, it's an $80 million company. It does, $800 million in revenues, but it's it trades down here. Why is that? And then people look, it's got $1.4 billion in debt. So that's the overhang. So if they don't figure that out, it's it's gotta, who knows? If they do, then it's off to the races. That's that. Oh, Spotify's after the close today. Usually Spotify's in the morning. Yeah, Spot reports earnings. Is that right? Wow. I mean, here it is at 418. I remember when it was $200, lower than that. I'm like, this Spotify is similar, I remember everybody used to make fun of satellite radio, not make fun, but like they thought that was going to go away, and now it's in every car, right? And similar with Spotify, it's like, what's their moat? But they continue to do really well, and it's not, and their business. I remember so many people coming out bear case, they were losing money, and now here it is at $400. It's good. It's going to be volatile. You have to think it does well, right? I mean, it's like the corner has been turned for Spotify. So maybe it trades up near $500. You start looking at the premium, it's a $40 implied move. So it's like 9% right now. So you start looking at just the weekly strikes. If you go all the way up to 500, they're $1.11 by $1.28. So I mean, if it rallies 10%, it gets to 460, maybe the 500s go to $1.50. So is that worth bet? I don't think so. So I'll probably pass looking at that, but I would think it's going to be a beat and raise, right? I mean, that's what they've done. It's just how the market reacts. And typically, the bear case on Spotify was their profits, right? They were just throwing up money out the window, and that's kind of changed. So certainly setting up for another move there. Also, take a look at Roku, and you hear me not talking about because it's like a sour note after its earnings. Thankfully, I just kicked myself for not playing for the bounce. Post earnings, here it is at $77. So pretty much right where it was before reported earnings. They reported a great quarter, and it was like it sold off anyway. And it's just similar to Clear Secure, right? Great quarter. If you had told me their results before they reported, I said, wow, the stock's going to trade in the 40s, and it's not. But I don't want to be in a spot where I'm just, I'm blinded by my conviction. So it's probably best I'll just kind of wait for the dust to settle and then possibly revisit soon. Also, I think someone posted there was a 13G filing from one of those funds. Maybe they're looking to acquire them. I think Roku's a great M&A target. All right, that's it, folks. We got 20 minutes to the open. I'll be back tomorrow. Well, I'll be here, but on audio tomorrow. Rock and roll.